mostly under control. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Today's date, August 5th, 2020, Board of Commissioners meeting.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you everybody for your patience. I want to welcome you to our latest edition of the Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is August 5th of 2020, and I want to remind everybody that this is a public meeting, and when you do address the board, please say your name and your address for the record. Awards, recognitions, and correspondence. Do the other two commissioners have any of that?
I do not.
Okay, hearing none.
I'm sorry, can the audio get any better?
Not really.
I can barely hear you and it's a little fuzzy.
Yeah, it's really hard to hear.
How about now?
Okay, how about now? We're playing with the audio now.
It's just kind of really echoey. It's hard to understand what you're saying, actually.
Okay, Doug, can I remove my mask? Is that going to be an issue?
He's more than 6 feet from anybody.
Okay, being more than 6 feet, I'm going to take the mask off. Does taking the mask off help the audio?
It does. I can hear a little better now. It just sounds far away.
Okay.
As long as you do the mic a little better.
Adjust the mic, is that what it said?
Lean into it here.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to do the acknowledgement of the minutes of previous meetings, July 1st and July 15th and the 22nd.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes of July 1st, 2020, July 15th, 2020, and July 22nd, 2020. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Aye.
Any additions to the agenda? Okay, seeing none. Public input and recognition of visitors. Okay,
Is that where we say something?
if you're not a part of the agenda, yes. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the business part of the agenda. And item number 1 is the Leadership Academy report.
Good morning, everyone. This is Saad Workbook, and also on the call are.
Susan, let me stop you real quick. If you're not speaking, could you please mute your microphones? I think that's going to be part of the problem. So please mute your phones if you're not the speaker. Thank you. Sorry about that, Susan. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Susan Bauer, a co-developer of the Leadership Academy. Along with me is Nick Nash.
Unmute yourself. Press the start key.
Leadership Academy participants on the call as well. This was the second Leadership Academy for Umatilla County. Administration is noted for its commitment.
And just one more, can anybody hear anything?
I
cannot hear anything.
Can you hear me okay?
They should let us know if they have it on Facebook, then maybe it'll be better.
Nick Nash, co-facilitator of the program.
Is anybody there in the meeting? Can you hear us?
We can hear you guys just fine. Our presenter is still trying
We're
to
not
talk.
hearing anything if you can't hear us.
If you're from the Leadership Academy, could you please put your phone on mute? And you'll have the opportunity.
Is anybody there? I can't hear the meeting at all. It's totally silent. Great, I know. And you're
Again, if you
We can hear everybody just fine. If everybody could refrain from speaking so our presenter could talk, that would be very helpful.
We cannot hear anything for the last minute. It was all completely, it was all muted. So we couldn't hear anything on your
Okay, everybody please.
I will go
We're trying to let Susan talk, please.
It will help until you're ready to speak. So I'll start again, thank you for having us. I'm Susan Bauer. Along with me is Nick Nash and a member of our Leadership Academy participant. Today we're celebrating the second Leadership Academy milestone. Administration is noted for its commitment to professional development of its employees. Today, Nick Nash, co-facilitator along with me in the program, will share a press release that describes who completed the program and it highlights what the participants experienced. We will also note who completed the program. At the conclusion, the county will be presented with the group's project, which is a recording promoting Umatilla County as a great place to live, work, and play. This is a recording and tool that can be used to help in recruiting new employees to fill open positions, and it can also supplement new employee orientations. Copies of the PowerPoint presentation have been provided to the commissioners to have in their packets. And as I said, there are some Leadership Academy participants out there on the line who are invited to jump in when we are at the PowerPoint presentation. With that, I'll turn it over to Nick to share the press release celebrating this second Leadership Academy milestone.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to read the press release. 11 employees completed Umatilla County Leadership Academy, Umatilla County, Oregon. 11 Umatilla County employees recently completed the Umatilla County Leadership Academy. The Umatilla County Leadership Academy is a leadership training program for Umatilla County employees developed and led by Susan Bauer of Eastern Oregon Business Source as a part of the Umatilla County Professional Development Program. This year, the Leadership Academy focused on training employees who are not currently in management, but who have been identified by county leadership as potential leaders. Participants in the Umatilla County Leadership Academy met monthly between January and June and had the opportunity to develop a variety of skills, including effective leadership communication, emotional and social intelligence, and teamwork. When COVID-19 caused shutdowns across the county, the Leadership Academy was able to continue using remote delivery. We were committed to providing a meaningful learning experience despite restrictions related to COVID-19. I was unsure at first, but quickly realized how efficient and effective meeting remotely turned out to be. The participants dove right in and quickly were able to navigate and maximize the remote meeting system. We all built skills as a result, which will be valuable in the new world of work, said Susan Bauer, who developed and led the Leadership Academy. The Leadership Academy has been impactful to me in many ways, said John Salter from Tax and Assessment. The most important to me has been the increased self-awareness that I've gained from the training, which should enable me to be a more positive interaction with staff as I transition to management. Carrie Roberts from the Sheriff's Office echoed Salter. I'm grateful for the Leadership Academy, as it's given me the opportunity to grow as a person and employee for Umatilla County through a better understanding of myself, my personality, and my interactions with others. In addition to learning about themselves as leaders, the Leadership Academy provided a place for participants to gain confidence in their leadership ability. The Leadership Academy set me up with a skill set to be my best self, not only as an employee for Umatilla County, but to be a better leader one day with them. The course has impacted my life in so many ways, and I'm excited to see the growth I've gained over the 6 months and apply them in my job as well as my life. Overall, my confidence is flourishing, and I'm so thankful to be a part of this program and experience, said Samantha French from the CDDP program. John Williams with Youth Services highlighted the impact the Leadership Academy has had on himself as a leader. The Leadership Academy helped me realize that I can be a leader outside the world of sports. As a leader, I learned there's more to being a leader than just leading by example. That I can be of people and still lead. I had to step out of my comfort zone a little to engage more with my team. Now I make sure everyone gets heard instead of assuming that their silence means that they don't have an opinion, Williams said. County employees completing the Leadership Academy include Carrie Beagle, Human Services, John Williams, Youth Services, Samantha French, CDDP, Thierry Simiotti, Land Use and Planning, John Salter, Assessment and Taxation, Carrie Gibson, Sheriff's Office, Carrie Roberts from the Sheriff's Office, Nina Kick, Community Justice, Anna Escalante, Community Justice, Riley Wortman, Administrative Services, and Lindsay Ware from Public Health. Thank you.
Great, thank you. At this time, I invite Leadership Academy participants as we transition over to the PowerPoint to go over the highlights of the program and present the group project to Umatilla County Administration.
I just wanted to say it was a great opportunity and we had a great time doing it, even though we had to completely change through the middle of it. And Samantha French put together a great PowerPoint that has audio, and I'll let it speak for itself.
I'm not seeing it on my screen.
Umatilla County launched its first pilot program of Leadership Academy, where it brought together program managers and provided them with tools on how to be an effective leader. Upon completion of the first round, the county then released its very first strategic plan.
While we're working on getting the video to play, I do want to point out that, Nick, your microphone, as much fun as I made of it earlier, it's sounding phenomenal.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you can have us come in and rig up sound for the county anytime. We'd be happy to.
Here we go, Tim.
In 2019, Umatilla County launched its first pilot program of Leadership Academy, where it brought together program managers and provided them with tools on how to be an effective leader.
I don't understand it.
Upon completion of the first round, the county then released its very first strategic plan, where it addresses the goal of creating an organizational culture where others want to work and do business. With setting that goal, one strategy implemented to achieve and maintain is investing in professional development for the aspiring leaders. With the fulfillment of the first year's pilot course and seeing the success it brought among each department, Umatilla County devoted the second program for another round of participants. Leadership Academy 2020 brought together 11 individuals who work in different parts of the county who are striving one day to become an effective leader in a management role. Together, they worked from January to June, where they developed a variety of skills, including effective leadership, communication, emotional and social intelligence, and as you all are aware, in early 2020, we were hit with a statewide pandemic, putting a halt in the face-to-face meetings of the group. As being effective leaders, the group didn't let this hinder their process of learning. Therefore, they bared together and continued to press forward through a series of remote meetings, where they continue to navigate through the course. Both Susan Bauer and Nick Nash provided the group with the curriculum that helped develop knowledge and insight to each participant's personality style through various inventories, which would further help each develop into being an effective leader. Together, each had robust conversations, debriefed, and reflected on materials and outcomes provided.
Okay, it's playing on the screen behind me, but it's not playing on our screens that everybody can view, it doesn't look like.
I can't seem to make it.
Okay.
Okay, this is Susan. Might I suggest and invite any Leadership Academy participants that's out there to jump in and verbally finish the presentation or have some closing comments, and we'll present the group project.
Tim.
The rest of the presentation was meeting the team, saying who we were, which Nick covered in the press release. And then it was presenting the group project of the different audio clips. I don't have those on my computer here, so I'm not able to share them. And then the ending of the section of slides was, as you can see, at the end of the 6-month course, each of us walked away with a meaningful life impact. Some walked away with being a little bit stronger, a little bit more confident, more aware of their personality traits, their perceived attitude, and a strong sense of leadership characteristics. And all in all, it's safe to say that the 11 participants are walking away with skill sets that will last them a lifetime, as well as provide for a bright and meaningful future with Umatilla County. And at the end of the day, the goal we can successfully say we met is continuing a positive, organized culture where others will want to work and be part. We are Umatilla County Leadership Academy participants of 2020, and we thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Riley. And again, congratulations to everyone. You did it despite any COVID-19 restrictions. Great job. The video is available, and I'm sure IT can work to make it available to the public. Again, that is a group project that can be used by the county as a recruiting tool, as well as a supplement to employee orientation. Thank you all for the opportunity to be a part of Leadership Academy, and most importantly, congratulations all participants.
Thank you, everybody, for all your hard work. Susan and Nick, I really appreciate the effort you two have put into this program especially. And again, thank you for all of your efforts, and thank you to the class. That's a huge commitment that all of the students took. And not only are you making Umatilla County a better place to live, work, and play, but you're just making yourselves better and just going to that next level. So I appreciate everything that you guys have done to be in that class. Commissioners Elfring or Murdoch? Okay. Okay. Was that it, Susan? Did you have anything else for us?
No, thank you, Commissioner. We're all set.
All right, thank you again. Okay, moving on to the agenda. Number 2 is Stance Against Racism Resolution. Commissioner Murdoch, did you want to talk about that one?
No, I think we have a resolution before the commissioners. I would like to let the resolution speak for itself and not provide any side comment.
Okay. And Commissioner Murdoch, would you like to read the resolution?
Actually, I don't have a copy here in my office. I think I would defer to council to read the resolution.
I can read it if you'd like. I've got it in front of me too. So, okay. Except I got to take this off because it's got a glare and I can't quite see around the glare. Okay.
There's a hard copy if you want to look at it.
Oh, I do? Where's the hard? Oh, it's in here.
There you go. Keep going.
Okay, bear with us, everybody, while we get through these technical difficulties. So I've got the resolution in front of me, and it's in the matter of board stance against racism, discrimination, and social injustices in Umatilla County. Whereas the Board of Commissioners firmly believes that systemic racism exists, but has no place in Umatilla County, and whereas the Board of Commissioners respect the peaceful protests that have been conducted throughout Umatilla County on behalf of citizens of color, and whereas the Board of Commissioners recognize the multiple benefits that diversity contributes to the richness of our collective lives, and whereas we condemn all forms of discrimination on the basis of religion, national origin, race, color, gender, age, or sexual orientation, as called out in the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and whereas we are in the midst of a transformational period in our history that, if guided properly, could lead to a more enlightened future on behalf of racial equity. Now, therefore, be it resolved and ordered that the Board of Commissioners adopt this message and the following position paper on moving forward with proactive initiatives. With regard to racial equity in Umatilla County, 1. The Umatilla County Board of Commissioners reaffirms their earlier statements regarding the fact it is important to remember that we live in a diverse county where racial equity must be a critical part of our mission. 2. As one of Oregon's most diverse counties, it is important we reach out to our Hispanic, Latinx, Indigenous, Black, Asian Americans, and other individuals of color in such a way that we hear their voices and view issues through their lens, rather than the lens of those who would speak for them, whether it be us or others. 3. The tragic death of George Floyd has created an awakening that has resonated across the nation and around the world, and we understand and appreciate the outrage that has resulted in the message that we must put an end to racial inequity wherever it exists. We also recognize that an awakening only has value and meaning if it transforms into a greater, more positive future, when reaction is replaced by tangible differences in thought, purpose, action, and reality. We can do better, and we must do better. To accomplish racial equity in Umatilla County, the Board adopts these initiatives. A. In recent months, we have been reminded that our most economically fragile citizens, many of whom are individuals of color, do not have equitable access to health care. In light of this historical inequity, Umatilla County needs to explore options for improving access to quality care, both in the short term and in the long term, as a permanent solution. B. We have also been reminded that our most economically fragile citizens, and again, many of whom are individuals of color, do not have equitable access to quality housing options. In light of this historical inequity, Umatilla County needs to explore options for improving housing choices both in the short term and in the long term as a permanent solution. C. Umatilla County has long been committed and has been successful in its efforts to engage a workforce that reflects the diverse makeup of the county we serve. This commitment must continue. D. Umatilla County recognizes that communities function best when all citizens are actively engaged in political and civic affairs. Opportunities must be provided for encouraging more citizens of color to be engaged. E. The Umatilla County Board of Commissioners recognizes an inexorable relationship between immigration policies and the economy of the Mid-Columbia region, recognizing that without avenue for individuals to access work opportunities, we lose both their critical economic contribution and the richness their presence brings to our communities. Economic growth within the county must be available to all segments of our population. F. The history of Umatilla County and the fabric that defines us was woven by waves of immigrants from around the world whose contributions to our being and the cultural heritage they have contributed will only grow richer as we continue to welcome those seeking an opportunity to become part of our future. Barriers to accomplishing this goal must be stopped. G. We have also learned that when children are not permitted to attend school in person, grave inequities become apparent in terms of access to the tools required by distance learning. This inequity has the greatest impact on families of color, but extends to all families who do not have reliable access to online learning. This too must be addressed. H. Umatilla County recognizes that food security and accessibility are key components of a safe and healthy life, and that families of color are disproportionately impacted by inequities in terms of a healthy and dependable diet. Accessibility for all must be sought. I, Umatilla County believes the state of Oregon should create a mental health and reinvestment program so that resources are available to handle mental health crisis and train personnel who have appropriate resources at their disposal and are available to everyone in our community. J, Umatilla County also urges the state of Oregon to honor its promise regarding community corrections in order to expand resources for dealing appropriately with individuals who are on parole and probation as a tool similar to alcohol and drug treatment for turning their lives around, and particularly for those disproportionately represented within this population. K, Umatilla County can and must become a model for the state of Oregon in terms of our concerted efforts to assure the presence of equity, dignity, and justice for everyone. Dated this 5th day of August, 2020.
Are you entertaining a motion for adoption?
I am entertaining said motion.
I so move.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Did you want to give people opportunity to talk that are on the phone?
I think that's next, isn't it?
Well, that would be part of that discussion.
Oh, okay. Those on the phone, would you like to weigh in on this?
Okay, give me 1 second here, Commissioner. I need to, they're going to lose contact for a minute, and then again, because I have to unmute them. So people on the phone, just bear with us for just a minute here, and then you can speak. So hold on.
In order to unmute it, he has to disconnect that line and reconnect it.
Like we were doing yesterday. This is a test for our IT department. So far, they're doing quite well.
At least this part we got figured out.
Okay, so people on the phone should be able to communicate, so let's do that.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
Yes. And please say your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Natasha Stiles, and I'm a representative for the coalition that submitted the request for the order to the commissioners, and I would just like a few minutes, if possible, to make a statement to the board.
Okay, real quick, Natasha, could we also get your address for the record, please?
319 Northwest 11th Street, Pendleton.
Could you spell her name, please?
And can you spell your name, please?
Yeah, it's N-A-S-T-A-S-H-A. And it's Stiles, S-T-I-L-S.
Thank you. And go ahead.
Okay. So we believe an anti-racist order from our leaders will set precedent that racism is no longer going to be tolerated as a social norm in our community. We know it will be extremely impactful in offering actual protection for the lives of people of color who are suffering both economically and with their health, and with being subject to vocal racism in public spaces and online right now. That said, we are more than exhilarated to see that on this agenda there was an order drafted by our county commissioners board. We are eager to find out more about how this order came to be, and we want to make sure to express that we commend and applaud its reason. In all truth, we were honestly shocked by the order and its level of engagement and recognition of our current critical issues facing people of color in our county. We feel the language used by the board in the draft will be beneficial in reaching members of the community with systemic ingrained attitudes about racial progress that are often negative and often used vocally in public spaces and online forums to harm people of color in our communities right now. Previous to this, we have been concerned and disheartened about the presence of vocal racism that seems to be increasing in our community, and feel this order will help curb and transform its presence. The goal of engaging in critical race discussions is to create a better quality of life for everyone in our community. Safer, happier, functioning, just society. And we really look forward to continuing to work towards these goals alongside our board, alongside our leaders, and we look forward to being able to tell our community and beyond that our county commissioners have listened and are listening and working diligently side by side with people of color and allies to make sure we get to that place together. And in your order, you wrote, whereas we are in the midst of a transformational period in our history that, if guided properly, could lead to a more enlightened future on behalf of racial equity. We believe this is perfectly stated and thank everyone who has spoken on these issues and the board. We thank you again for your participation in the creation of this draft order. We very, very much look forward to its signature and to actualizing of its initiatives to accomplish more racial equity in our county. So thank you again so much, and we look forward to further engaging in this order with them.
Thank you for that, Natasha. I appreciate the message. And I too look forward to working towards this. Anybody else on the phone wanting to say anything?
I'll say something. Sorry.
Kate,
Hello?
go ahead. And please again say your name and address for the record.
111 West Beach Avenue, Henderson, Oregon. I would just like to say thank you to the commissioners for writing this resolution. I read it and I'm very pleased in what was said. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, and unfortunately I covered your name when you said your name. Could you repeat that for the record, please? I apologize.
My name is Jackie Linton.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Sorry for us about covering you up when you said that. I know there was at least one more person that wanted to say something. I heard somebody.
I'm Nolan Bilinga. My address is 1193 Southwest Stata Court in Pendleton, Oregon. So yeah, I just wanted to extend, thank you for writing this as well. And I think Natasha put it pretty well. It sets an unprecedented tone, I think, among a lot of other communities as well. And just looking at history, even we go back as far as Hitler writing Mein Kampf, but even he it's crazy. He praised America for our racism, essentially, in Mein Kampf. And I think it clearly had lasting effects over generations upon generations of people. So I think this is an important step, in the right direction where we're going. So I just want to extend, gratitude for it.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate the comments. Anybody else want to speak on this?
Hi, my name is Andrew Morris, and I live at 402 Walla Walla Street in Umatilla. And I sent a PowerPoint presentation to Mr. Olson last night, and it has a number of data points in it for health disparities within Umatilla County, and also some data points from at the federal level, and then as well as examples of things that the current the Trump administration is doing to help reduce health disparities and bring health equity to minority populations. And so, since you've adopted and I really appreciate, thank you so much for adopting the order. So I won't go over the PowerPoint now, but you do have it. It was sent to you for reading. And there are some powerful data points in there. For example, in Umatilla County, the 56% of Hispanic adults, Hispanic Latina adults, don't have health insurance coverage. This is in 2018, which is the newest data. So compared to 7% of the rest of the population in Umatilla County. So that's one glaring health disparity. And I listed some other data from the county. So I would encourage you to look at those data points so you can see some of the health disparities that are existing in Umatilla County.
No, thank you for that, Andrew. I'm looking at that PowerPoint presentation right now, and one of the ones that I'm looking at is 51% of Hispanic adults did not get prescriptions filled in 2017 compared to 39% of the general population. That's a pretty staggering figure, so thank you for this, and I'm going to be looking at this. But I want you to know I do have it, so thank you for that.
Great, and I'd be happy with Ms. Tasha and others to follow up on this with you. I have 20 years of experience in the healthcare policy field, so we'd be happy to talk further with you on this.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, anybody else want to speak on this?
Yes, hello, my name is Donna Everett, and I've written something that I would like to read.
Okay, real quick, I can hear you, but I want you to spell your name for me and give us your address, please.
Yes, certainly. My name is Donna Everett. It's spelled D-O-N-N-A. Everett is spelled A as in apple, V as in Victor, E-R-I-T-T as in Tom. And I live at 1420 Northwest 11th Street in Hermiston, 97838. I'm a community organizer for the group named Black Lives Matter Allies, East Oregon. And I wanted to take this time to thank the board for their participation and work on the most recent resolution order that's seen listed on today's agenda. The Black Lives Matter movement has been a big part of my life since our nation's dialogue took off after instances of police brutality on people of color could no longer be ignored and go unanswered for. Through my journey with the recent Black Lives Matter protests, I have personally witnessed the need for an order of protection and support for people of color in this county. I live in Hermiston, and when I attend our peaceful protests, I witness countless incidents of racism. When we protest, people flip us off. They roll coal on us from their truck's exhaust and shout out racial slurs. Last month, outside your commissioner's office, I was screamed at and flipped off just walking across the street wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt before we even began engaging in our American right to protest. Through the activism work for my group, I am retold every day of countless incidents of racism that happen in this county. I do believe the order on Umatilla County's stance on racism, discrimination, and social injustices will make a difference in changing the dynamic in our county. I am hopeful that we can be proud to be living in a rural county that has leaders willing to oblige, to listen, and to do the work desired by Black, Indigenous, sorry about that, and people of color. We do have obvious questions to ask, though. We were taken by surprise by the recent order drafted, and we would love to hear about how this order came to be and how the commissioners were able to come to the decision to grant and expand our request for the order. The progress made in this order is reminiscent of a passage in the Anti-Racist Workbook written by Lela Saad. She states, more white privileged people like yourself are learning about racial dynamics and social justice terminologies than ever before. You are awakening to the fact that your white privilege has protected you from having to understand what it means to navigate the world as a Black or brown person and to the ways in which you have unintentionally caused harm to Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We are living in challenging times. There is much work to be done, and it begins with getting honest with yourself, getting educated, becoming more conscious about what is really going on, getting uncomfortable and questioning your core paradigms about race, spirituality, feminism, and leadership. If you are willing to do that, and if we are all committed to doing the work that is
ours to do. We may just have a chance in creating a world and way of living that is closer to what we all desire for ourselves and one another. Again, we thank the board very much, and we also look forward to being of assistance in holding actions written on the recent orders to be true. We look forward towards working together and being able to share this within the community. Can we please ask if we could hear an understanding on how this order came to be and the decision that was made to grant it? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else want to speak on this issue?
If I could get a chance to speak, that would be great.
Absolutely. And who's this?
Yeah, Commissioner, my name is Jaime Madrigal.
And could you...
IME, and then Madrigal, Madrigal, from Umatilla, Oregon, 114 Oceans Avenue. And I just want to say, so first off, thank you for coming to a resolution and actually agreeing to this order, but I think the most troubling part for me is the fact that you first came out with the statement and said, hey, we're against the movement of protesting, I think, and I don't know, maybe my understanding of it is a little wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understood it was you came out and were forcefully and against the demonstrations, against the protests, and I just find that troubling because yes, it's one thing to put out this order after the fact, but I don't think we should ever have to get to that. I think if you were speaking to the people of color community here within Umatilla County, you would find that these protests were like with good intentions and they were needed. And I wish that before you came out with a sense like that put other people in the county thinking like, hey, this is what my commissioners are thinking. Now I'm against the protest. I think it would have been more helpful for you to come out with this order since the beginning. And so I guess the order is, I mean, we can't change the past, but I wish moving forward you would just be more careful with, I guess, how you come out and state your opposition or, like, I guess, in favor of something or opposition to something. I just wish that you would just think about it more clearly and probably talk to people of color within the community, just to get a sense of what's going on in our communities, what we feel are the injustices within the community. I mean, I also heard some troubling comments about systemic racism not being a thing, and I look around, look at all the professions, look at Umatilla County employees, the majority, and I mean, our demographics consist of probably 30%, and I could be wrong on the numbers, but around 30% Latino within Umatilla County. And if you look at everything within the county, like employment-wise, nothing reflects that. We don't have Latinos or any people of color within the commissioners. We don't have mayors, people of color. We don't have principals of the schools. You look at our police chiefs, everyone, you look at all these positions of power, and all these people tend to not be people of color. And I just wish we would do a little more to say, hey, we need people of color in these positions. And I mean, I think it would be helpful as well to reach out to the community and see what their thoughts on all of this is before you come out and you oppose a certain, like the protest or a certain movement. And so yeah, but I do want to like ultimately say thank you. I think this is moving in the right direction. And then, I mean, knowing what we know now, I think we have the privilege of hindsight and saying, hey, this is the right step forward, and what do we do from here to not mess up the next time and not come out trying to post something that's good intention. So yeah, with that being said, that's all I have, and sorry I didn't write anything up, so my message can be a little unclear, so sorry if it didn't come out as I hopefully wanted it to, but I do want to say thank you though. Well, that's all I have.
Well, thank you for your comments, and you were just fine, by the way. But I do want to address the comment about the protest. You made a comment about our stance on protest. the paper actually misquoted me. Well, it didn't misquote me, it didn't quote me in my entirety. When I said, when I was talking about the protest, I said I couldn't be more proud of the protests that happened here in Pendleton and in Hermiston. Very peaceful. In fact, some of the leaders reached out to law enforcement and said, hey, look, this is what we're going to be doing. Couldn't have been more happy with that, more proud of that. What I found disturbing was when they spray painted our World War II monument and when they had a woman who was defecating on a police car upside down with obscenities written on it. That's what I found disturbing, not the peaceful protests that we had here in Umatilla County.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. I guess I just, all I had was the East Oregonian article that came out on that.
And I understand. Believe me, I understand. I was not real thrilled when I saw that article. So, anybody else want to speak on this?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner, I would like to say too that anyone who has a question about anything that appears in the paper, I would ask that you call directly. Talk to me, talk to Commissioner Schaefer, Commissioner Murdoch about what was said if you have a question about it. Oftentimes, just a part of what was said is printed because they don't have enough room in the entire paper to print everything that we say. So do come for clarification. You're entirely welcome.
May I ask how the new order came about and who wrote it up? Because it's very different from the first order. So we're just wondering how that came about.
Could she identify?
I'm sorry, this is Donna Avery speaking again. I'm sorry.
Believe Commissioner Murdoch's unmuting his mic right now.
I'm trying to say, I mean, I don't see I think there was some misinterpretation on the first order. I think in retrospect, hindsight is always 20/20. Probably if we had had the least idea that how the first order would have been interpreted, coupled with the fact that I do not believe that the representation of what we actually did was reflected accurately in the newspaper, we might not have ever been where we are. However, I will say that we've had no difficulty in putting together the document you see before you. It does not represent anything other than the fundamental beliefs. Certainly on my behalf, I won't speak on behalf of my colleagues, but I can assure you that everything in the document you see today represents fundamental beliefs, not only that I would have today in making the motion to adopt the resolution and the white paper, but also the same fundamental beliefs I had a year ago, 10 years ago, or 30 years ago. So there was no, I certainly would not want to suggest there was the slightest bit of coercion in terms of what we said in the document. I think it reflects what we felt was necessary on behalf of getting a message to the people of color in our county, and certainly that we needed to provide something that actually reflects how we feel and what we think we need to do in going forward to make a difference. There's one particular part of that I would refer to, and that is the fact that the awakening, I think, has been extremely valuable, but it will only ultimately have value if we don't go forward and make positive changes that are reflected in how both the county acts, but also in the entire life of our community. Does that answer the question?
I believe it does, Commissioner, and I would like to speak. My name is Amber Henderson. That's AmberHenderson. I live at 1209 Southwest Zeta Court in Pendleton. And I would just like to say that I personally reached out to the commissioners after the original order was written, and the content of this new order is not shocking to me after speaking with the commissioners. I would encourage other people that if issues come up like this again to personally reach out to the commissioners and get their real thoughts and feelings on it, because we are in a small community and it is easy to have these conversations with our leaders. I would also like to thank the commissioners for putting this order out and giving me and other people of color in the community a sense of support from the leadership in our county. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else want to speak on this? Okay, hearing none. I did have a letter that was written and it was requested that it be read during this portion of the meeting. It says, Umatilla County Board of Commissioners, I have been a member of the silent majority, no more. I believe in peaceful protest, right to gather peacefully for causes. I do not believe that any individual and groups have the right to attack others, loot businesses, and burn down buildings. These individuals should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Shortly, the board will be asked to pass a resolution endorsing Black Lives Matter. I believe that the movement has been hijacked by a Marxist socialist agenda to do away with our democratic form of government. We see legal and illegal immigrants seeking to achieve a better way of life in this country. Through hard work, they can achieve a better way of life for their family and children. I believe that all lives matter, whether they are black, white, Indian, Asian, Hispanic, and all religious groups. I see a movement to defund the law enforcement in this country. By taking resources away from law enforcement, the opposite will happen. Crime cannot be thoroughly investigated. Good police officers will not feel that no one has their back. Citizens will not be safe in their home. I see that lynch mob mentality against police officers for wrongdoing. Some police administrators cannot wait to fire police officers without due process to satisfy a mob. I appreciate the Umatilla County Board of Commissioners passing a resolution supporting all law enforcement officers and public safety. As a retired 3-term Umatilla County Commissioner and Umatilla County Sheriff's Deputy, thank you. G. Glenn Youngman, for the record. Okay. Also in the agenda we have and I'm not sure if it's pronounced Saad or Saad, or I think I heard it pronounced Saad in phone calls, the Saad Workbook. Was somebody wanting to talk about that as well? Okay. Hearing none, the next point was the...
John, Commissioner Schaefer,
yes.
I don't know if that portion of the agenda was to ask for any comment from the commissioners about the content of the workbook, but I think it's important for anyone who has read the workbook to realize that it was pointed out many times in the workbook that it isn't intended for us to reflect on others, but only to review the contents of the workbook in my estimation, in terms of how it reflects on us and our individual beliefs. So I don't intend to comment on what I found, although it was extremely enlightening, but I reflect on the workbook only as it reflects on my thoughts and beliefs.
And I too spent time reading the workbook, and it does point out a different point of view and makes us aware that there is a different point of view and that we should acknowledge that.
Okay, and I as well, after our last board meeting, we all had a binder dropped off to us about the workbook, and it looks like all three of us had a chance to go through the workbook, and I appreciate the information. I agree with Commissioner Murdoch, it was very enlightening. I took a lot away from that book as well. So thank you for delivering that. I'm not sure who delivered it, but whoever did, thank you. And we already talked about the health PowerPoint that Mr. Morris provided to us. And like I stated earlier, we do have a copy of that and appreciate that. So the next item on our agenda is item number 3, the Umatilla Enterprise Zone Amendment.
I don't know if Bob Walter's on. I don't know if council intends to speak to this, but I will say, or B.M. Nelson, but I will say that it is on the agenda based upon a meeting that I participated in with the city of Umatilla, and this is where we're going with it. This is our proposal, and I just saw a glimpse of council at the podium, which suggests he's probably going to provide more comprehensive information.
Well, I don't think it's really needed, but I mean, basically, formally, this is before the board to become a co-sponsor of the city of Umatilla's Great Umatilla Enterprise Zone. The city has requested this action and also is requesting the county to agree with the boundary adjustment to include areas within the urban growth boundary to allow for the enterprise zone to have additional property that might be subject or available for the tax incentives that go with the zone designation. And it's before the board for action to become a co-sponsor and approve the new expanded enterprise zone boundaries.
So Doug, as a matter of question, that this would only add the blue stripe area to the enterprise zone.
That is correct.
And or outside the city limit. Is that a correct statement?
You cut out, Commissioner. Can you get closer to your microphone?
We'll give it a try. So
I didn't say the camera, I said the microphone.
Maybe that's just the way I normally speak. But I was asking if all of the striped areas are outside of the current city limits of Umatilla, and that is the only land that they wish to have included in the enterprise zone outside of their own city limits?
I believe that it looked like there might have been 1 or 2 parcels that's within the city limits that they're now wanting to be included.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
Got a motion for approval, Commissioner Murdoch? Did you want to second that?
Yes, I do.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Okay. And number 4, drilling and blasting contract. I believe Tom Fellows is on the phone.
Good morning, Commissioners. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tom Fellows, County Public Works Director. Before you this morning, Umatilla County Public Works went out for requests for proposals for drilling and blasting one of our quarry sites down by Hermiston. This will be for 30,000 cubic yards of in-place material. We received 2 quotes, one from Aggregate Resources and Industries for $2.43 a yard, and one from Rhino Works for $2.75 a yard. We are asking for approval to accept the Aggregate Resources and Industries quote for the $2.43 a yard and move forward with our drilling project.
Okay, any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the contract with Aggregate Resources and Industries for drilling and blasting of the Rancier pit, 243 per cubic yard.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Number 5 is survey order. I believe Mr. Kenny is on the phone.
Good morning, Commissioners. Matt Kenny, Umatilla County Public Works Survey Supervisor. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
So before you today, we have the proposal to legalize a portion of Alkali Canyon Road. This portion is located between Highway 74 and Warner Road. It's about 1.5 miles in length. No records that we can find exist for this portion of road. And I know that there have been discussions with various windmill operations accessing this portion, which is what spurred this on and brought it to our attention. And so at this point, we just like to initiate the legalization process by requesting it be surveyed.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And a plotter purchase.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Fellows, Public Works Director again. What we've got before you here is a plotter cutter for sign materials. This is a fairly unique product, but they are readily available. The current plotter cutter that we are using is 30 years old and it has developed problems and we can't even get parts for it anymore. Our sign department, we don't use this on every sign in the county. Obviously, we purchase a number of our signs because it's cheaper and more efficient. What we use this for would be signs such as the sign up in the courthouse parking lot that says something about night staff parking. And some other signs around the county. Encoat Sales handles this. That they are also the company that we purchased our machinery from 30 years ago. We got a quote from them for the product that handles our material, the VEVs. We also went out and got comments from 3M who processes we use 3M sheeting. And so we're requesting approval to purchase the plotter, cutter, and all of the software necessary to operate it for $9,337.29.
Tom, I noticed in the materials that there was also a quote in for a 48-inch plotter. So you've looked at different type of, 2 different machines with 2 different capacities?
Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt, but yes, we did. The 48-inch, the 42-inch really does the vast majority of the 48-inch size would really be, in my opinion, more of the luxury items that we really don't need to spend the additional money on right now.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Other than the fact that it's night shift, not night crew. So all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'd like to have a bigger sign for that location.
With this new plotter, we can make that happen, Commissioner.
Thank you. I'll pay for it personally.
As vision grows dimmer.
And I'm paying for it for eternity. Okay, laptops purchase.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Laptops purchase.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dan Lanai, Director of Administrative Services. Before you is an invoice for 10 laptops that we purchased for the health department for COVID call centers. You know, we've hired around 20 new employees there to cover all the duties that are involved with the pandemic, and we need to have computers for them. We went out and purchased these from a local vendor, Price's Computer and Elk Tree Water, and the total amount for those laptops, $10,440. And it's over the 5,000 amount, so it requires commissioner approval.
I'm familiar with
These have
price.
already been purchased.
Well, I'm just gonna-
These have already been purchased.
Yes, we did the emergency purchase because they haven't ordered in time, so yes, already been purchased.
I'm familiar with Price Computers. They've done a lot of work for the city of Athena when I was the mayor there. And so I applaud the use of a local vendor.
Yes, we're trying our best. There's sometimes they can't keep them the price when we get off the state contract, but definitely we're right in there with these. So
good.
Are they, I'm sorry, I didn't get part of what you said.
Price Computers, we check with them, and most of the time we compare them with the state contracts where we can get computers for, and they were pretty competitive on these, and so we've been doing a lot of purchasing through those. But we do check contract just in case there's some discrepancy.
Thank you.
With that, I would entertain a motion.
I would so move.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Roofing contract.
Thank you, commissioners, on that. And then now before you is the replacement roofing bid that we had for the juvenile roof, part of the area above the cells, which are now offices, when we changed the juvenile facility to all those cells in the offices, we need to fix that roof. That one has not, that's the original roofing on there. Went out for bid, and Palmer Roofing, a local contractor, bid $9,600, and the only other bid that we had on our RFP was from Spokane Roofing, and it was $87,000. So definitely far less, and also a local contractor that we work with quite a bit, Palmer Roofing. So we would like to request approval to go ahead and sign a contract with Palmer Roofing for $39,600 to replace that portion of the roof at our juvenile and DD facility.
Dan, I have a question on this. There's a significant difference between the two bids. How specific was the RFP, and is one proposing more work or different work from what was requested in the RFP? Is that why the difference in the two bids?
Well, I believe, Commissioner, the main reason was the Spokane roofer never even actually drove out and inspected the roof. They just called and did everything over the phone and looked at the RFP, so they never physically looked at the facility. Which also
be approved going forward.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner. It just makes me concerned about warranty work if they're not willing to come out to look at the site. What would the warranty work be like?
Okay, Commissioner Murdoch, was that a motion? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, yes.
Second.
Okay, you got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, creation of a position for dispatch. I see Sheriff Rowan hiding in the background, so I'm assuming you're going to speak to this.
Sheriff Terry Rowan. Yeah, I don't know how I could hide in this room. It's more like work. I'm doing double duty.
I noticed that.
Anyway, yes, this is, as you know, we presented this during our budget process in anticipation for an increase in 911 funds or appropriations through legislative action. Those increased revenues are beginning to come in now. I believe we received our first quarter payment that's reflective of those increases, and will support the project moving forward by gaining a dispatcher. I still believe that we are woefully behind in our dispatch center to provide quality service in light of everything that's going on in the community and around the country. It's no doubt that we've seen an increase, significant increase in activity in our dispatch center. Couple that with the fact that we're also switching out radios has been a challenge as well. And so I just ask for approval for the new position.
Speaking of your dispatchers, I just want to point out our first presentation we had today was by Susan Bauer with the leadership program, and I noticed that one of your dispatchers, Carrie Gibson, was in that class this time, and I think Carrie Roberts was also in it. So thank you for allowing them the opportunity to go through that process. So.
Just for the record, Sheriff, could you comment about the 911 fees, the fact that they are increased? Will that be sustainable?
I'm not sure I caught your entire question, Commissioner.
And my question has to do with the 911 fees, and they're increased, and the fact that that will be sustainable.
Yes,
will be, when we commit to a new district, committing long term.
Yeah.
And I just want the public to be assured that those 911 fees will be sustainable.
Correct, and I understand the question. From the information that I'm receiving from the APCO Nino group, which is the group that puts together this information, and from state OEM, they believe that we're actually, the amount of revenue received off the increase of taxes has exceeded their expectations, and so they don't see any reason why there would be a reduction in the months and years ahead, and so I believe it is sustainable for the foreseeable future.
Thank you.
I might add to that internally, and it was communicated to the sheriff, that a fiscal review of the proceeds certainly indicated they were in line with what the sheriff had projected in his budget, and that also continued review suggests we have no reason not to believe internally that we won't have sufficient funds to add a second factor later in the year.
Mr. Chair, I move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Okay, now back to single duty.
Single duty. What's that mean?
Okay, creation of position for public health. I see our director in the background there.
Hello, Joe Fumara, Director for UCO Health. So we're asking for the creation of a new epidemiologist position. This is a position we have not had at UCO Health, as far as I know, ever, at least in this format. We've got some regional funding coming from the state as part of the COVID response, and we're going to utilize that to create this position. Currently, we don't really have anybody on staff who can really take the data that we collect and do things with it so that we can see local trends, regional trends. And the intent is this position will be somebody who can do that rather than me in my spare time when I can put a few things together.
And exactly how much of that spare time do you have these days?
Not much at all.
That's kind of what I thought.
So obviously this is relatively short-term funding that I have for this at the moment. I am hopeful that this is going to be something the state continues to fund as we move forward out of this pandemic. And so we did go through the process to get this position approved through the union so that it can be a permanent position, assuming we get the funding to keep it going beyond the current pandemic.
Okay.
It's been interesting that in conversations I've had recently with people in Salem that public health has long been tragically underfunded by the state of Oregon. Most of the help comes from the county and from the parents, but I've been assured by leadership in Salem that the incidence of COVID-19 has made it poignantly clear that this state needs to invest in public health. So I think we're going to see opportunities in the future to get more funding and support from the state. And I also think that this was a fortuitous turn of events that made it possible to look seriously at some relief for Joe in a very, very big part of his current job.
The other thing I would like to comment, unless I'm mistaken, I believe this would be the only epidemiologist at public health in this part of the state. I think the closest at the moment is out of Bend.
Wow. Before you step down, I want to thank you and your staff for the tireless hours you guys are putting in. I mean, it's what you guys are doing is incredible, and thank you, Alicia, and your staff. You guys are doing an incredible job.
I appreciate that. The staff continue to amaze me. They have performed above expectations, in my opinion.
Agreed. Agreed. Well, I would entertain a motion.
I move. So move. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sale of property.
This is coming before the board for approval to sell a parcel that was acquired for delinquent property taxes. It's in Milton Freewater area. It went through the auction back in May. It did not sell. We have not received any bids on it until recently. A neighboring owner has submitted a written bid that meets the minimum amount requirements, and it is before the board for official action to act on the bid for the property.
You said it did meet the minimum bid?
It does, yes.
Okay. I would entertain a motion.
I move adoption of order BCC 2020-058.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. And Hermiston City Hall. Is that you or Commissioner Murdoch? Looks like you.
I'll let council has the exact wording. I'll make the motion eventually, but he has the exact wording.
Okay, this is becoming before the board for official approval to participate in the construction of the new Hermiston City Hall. The source of the funding for the county contribution will be from an enterprise zone payment from Lamb Weston. And the plan is to invest a portion of those funds to allow the county to use as county offices a portion of the new city hall, approximately 4,500 to 5,000 feet. And in return for that contribution, this county will be able to utilize the offices for a period of time in the new city hall. And it's before the board for official approval for the participation and payment of the funds. And also along with this, that the Sam Cook building will no longer be needed for county offices when those employees move into the new city hall. So the plan will be to provide that to the city of Hermiston as a portion of the funding.
So my understanding is that when this building is completed, that we would then transfer the Cook building and take the people from the Cook building into the new building.
That is correct.
Can I speak a little bit to that? I have met with the city officials at some length. We also met with the architect who's designing the building, have also we have together toured the Cook Building to get a sense of what we currently have in place at the Cook Building and what would be our specific need in this new space. And we're satisfied at this point that they're hearing us. But I also, in a broader sense, believe that we made a commitment that enterprise zone funds would be used for matters of development happening in areas of the county where the growth was occurring and then the funds were being generated. And I think this is a wonderful example of an opportunity to partner with business earnest as we have done before, relative to a project that I think will not only benefit a city that's projected to grow considerably in the future, but also will benefit our staff too, in terms of getting much better facility, much more useful facility. And so I would move for approval.
I'm going to second that and say that this is a significant advance to be able to reserve that space for future build out that we actually are in need of a great deal of now. I know community corrections, for example, are quite constricted in their space in the Stafford Hensel building, and we'll be able to move ahead and determine where we want this space and how we want it to be used in the future. And I would second that motion.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is the URIS CPB grants. And as a member of that committee, I'll present that. So the URIS committee met and selected the following organizations as recipients for the 2020 URIS grants due to the fact that the funding was reduced for 2020 to a total of $25,000 and we had 13 applicants. We opted for a fixed grant amount of $2,700 to 9 of the applicants who met the criteria for a grant. Due to advertising expenses, we divided the number by 9, our total amount of numbers, and the grants were given to, one is the Fraser Farmstead Museum for renovation of the carriage house, 2, Milton Freewater Rotary, accessories for the splash pad project, 3, City of Milton Freewater for replacement of the flagpole at the intersection of North Main and Highway 11, 4, Milton Freewater Kiwanis and Mackay Key Club, additional equipment for the Friday food bag program, 5, Danner Farms for renovation of the barn for better use for mentoring program, 6, Milton Freewater Senior Center partnering exterior of building, painting exterior of building, sorry, their glare got me again. Number 7, the MFDA incubator program for small businesses at Freewater Square. Number 8, Milton Freewater Breadbasket Emergency Food Center, update lighting and electrical. And number 9, the Walla Walla Basin Watershed Council repair of Lamson side channel destroyed during the flood. The committee recommends to the Board of Commissioners give approval to these grants, and it's signed by Jim Stanton, our committee member, and he's thanking the commissioners and URIS for the support. And with that, I would move approval of the recommendation for those grants. Order BCC 2020-061.
Second, and I would like to also add that it's commendable that the company continues to pay into this fund, recognizing the value of the dollars that are being put to work in the community. It's beyond the agreement. They're still continuing to pay, and that's, I think, very commendable.
I agree. Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, no executive session, so Commissioner reports, Commissioner Elfring.
Well, we've had some significant meetings here in the last few days, particularly I met with the sheriff and the undersheriff this week pertaining to the legislative contents that are being presented that may come to consideration in the short session, even though there's going to be an effort to confine the short session to budget matters. The legislative concepts are kicking around, and I wanted to be sure on where the sheriff, particularly as the president of the OSSA, where the OSSA was on the legislative concepts, and make sure that AOC and the OSAA are in line with, are aligned together in presenting the real needs of the sheriff and the real positions of the sheriff. So I think that's going to be important for us to track. May well be worth a board action to express our position on it as well, so that the legislators know. Had a wide variety of things, everything from chokeholds to uniforms. So it's there are about 6 legislative concepts, and we'll bring them back for consideration.
Did your conversation with the sheriff and the undersheriff address a proposal that all law enforcement uniforms across the state be identical?
Yes, and the difficulty with that is that in many different incidents, there are multiple departments on the scene, and it's important really to be able to differentiate. It's an important factor in identifying the differentiation between departments that are there. One of the, it may be in that same legislative the concept that it discusses a name placard on the officer that is recognizable from 45 feet away, that gives his name and his department and his badge number. With that alone, it's going to be very difficult to differentiate who's on the job. So, and the expense of that is an unfunded mandate, or would be an unfunded mandate back to the counties to be able to provide those uniforms. So, we did discuss that quite a bit.
Well, I understand it would be a $30,000 mandate to us, but at a time when there's been a lot of comment about the ability to quickly determine which officers are on the job, this would seem to be counterproductive. But more than that, I think if the legislature wants to determine what the Oregon State Police are wearing, that's fine. I think Umatilla County ought to be able to determine what the county sheriff's staff are wearing.
One would think.
I would weigh in on that, having been on the receiving end of a complaint from officers who may have stepped out of bounds, especially when you have multiple agencies responding. First question I ask is, well, do you know what agency they work for? Well, no, I don't. My next question is, what does their uniform look like? And that would tell me which agency needed to respond to the complaint. But if they all wore the same uniform, I don't know how we could even, I think that's going against everything that the legislature is trying to accomplish. I think it's going backwards. It's going to make things worse for them, not better. That's my 2 cents on that. Anything else, Commissioner?
No, that takes care of me.
Thank you. Commissioner Murdoch.
A couple of days ago, I had an opportunity to visit with Governor Brown, and one of the things he asked me was what could be done to help us. I think one of the things we're experiencing right now is our ability to get testing done in a timely manner. Waiting 7 or 8 days for a test to come back is absolutely ludicrous. It's totally counterproductive to reducing our numbers. By the time the test results are coming back, it's good. What I have found out is that we have insufficient supply of reagent available to our local lab so that they can't do the testing in a timely manner. We're also being asked to do more tests. What we end up doing is have more tests that are equally ineffective because of the time lag. I have already communicated to the governor's office and to the state Oregon Health Office that we simply need to get a better supply of reagents if they intend for us to begin reducing the count in the county. Also, there are cartridges that are utilized for one of the quick testing methods. We also have a shortage of cartridges. I don't think it's particularly well known that the inability for us to get the supplies we need to lower the incidence and provide better protection for our citizens is very well known, and it's causing us a great problem right now because we can't get those supplies. That's it.
Thank you. The only thing I really want to say is I want to thank our IT department for, I kind of sprung out on the last minute yesterday to allow Zoom so we could at least see your two shining faces in our meeting. And I think that may have contributed to part of the technical difficulties earlier, but they worked really hard to make what I wanted happen. So I applaud their efforts and thank you. And I know one of them is even in the room with us today, or with me today anyway. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate all your guys' efforts. So, and with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.